Empathy, a collaborative spirit, better conflict resolution, diversity of thought, and a host of other superior soft skills are what women leaders bring to the table, which have become all the more important after the pandemic. However, according to several reports, about 9% firms in India have women top managers, while women form around 16% of the boards of listed companies. While we have heard that this is a challenging momentum and everyone is talking about gender diversity, corporate biases, and showing empathy, but on a real ground, what is actually happening with women with dreams and ambitions to achieve great heights in the cybersecurity and infosec community? What are the emerging opportunities for them in technology space? And most importantly, what are we doing to mentor the women who are already working in the infosec industry and are faced with challenges related to scaling up their career? Hello and welcome to the Economic Times CISO International Women's Day Special. I'm Nikhar Agarwal, joined by Neha Taneja, who is Head Cybersecurity at Vedanta Oil and Gas Limited, and Ms. Shilpa Sawant, who is AVP Information Security at Reliance Industries. In this session, we will discuss the reality of corporate gender diversity, available job opportunities, and most importantly, why the InfoSec community needs more women leaders. First of all, I would like to express how happy I am to get this opportunity to moderate this session with a wonderful speaker panel. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Before moving on to our discussion, I would like to give the open stage to our lovely speakers to share their journey and throw some light on how they started their career in cybersecurity and what inspired them to become a cybersecurity leader. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thanks, Nikhar. I think pleasure to have here and share my thoughts over this. So for me, I think this journey has been very organic. Never really thought that I would be entering the cybersecurity field and trying to reach greater heights and lead the organization here. So to me, when I started off 15 years ago, the field was still emerging. There was a typical data protection focus was there. But now the way, the cyber industry has evolved, it needs actually the kind of contribution. How much ever you give, it's not enough. So that is what led me, initially when I started off, I felt, yes, there is a need to do more. While there was one domain over there at that point in time, but now there are 10 different domains that needs focus. So that's how, earlier it was just ID security, then it moved to information security, now everything about cyber. And the kind of cyber threats that we see, they're emerging, they're evolving, they're so sophisticated that we need to put in different minds to actually achieve something. So to me, when I had actually started off, I was not very sure if I would enter into IT or cyber, but fortunately I got campus placed and I entered this field. At that point in time also, I was not really clear. It was not very clear to me that where would I reach, because the industry itself, there was no forward path that we could actually anticipate. So it is very organic for me, the kind of threads that we've seen. And I feel that there is a need to actually bring more talent. And in fact, if you see, my focus always has been actually in my organization to actually groom more talent into this, so that will, help the organization rather than doing it individually. So I think the field is as such that you need diverse minds. You need people with technical as well as a lot of soft skills to contribute to an organization or the industry as a whole.
Definitely, ma'am, and I totally agree with you on this. Ms. Neha, coming to you, what has been your experience in the cybersecurity domain, and what are those great moments and the times that you have cherished being a cybersecurity leader? Over to you, ma'am.
So thanks, Nikar. Pleasure to be here. So, when it comes to my journey, it started off around, 16, 17 years back, wherein, as Shilpa rightly pointed out, the cybersecurity domain entailed more on IT governance, ISO 27001, cybersecurity compliances, IT audits and all. And from there, my journey has been, so I spent close to, 6 years with KPMG in that particular domain in the IT advisory practice. From there, then I moved on to SBI, which was the operations and implementation side of cybersecurity. So, if I were to say, my journey has been on both the sides, where, IT audit and governance part of it was there, and I got exposure to implementing the solutioning around it as a part of my stint with GESBI. Primarily being a BFSI sector in credit card, there was a lot of change which I could witness during that. And today we talk about threats such as ransomware, or for how I'm uniquely placed today is with my journey at Vedanta Cain Oil and Gas. It's a very unique operational technology with cybersecurity element. I started my journey with Vedanta 2 years back, and the nature of threats which have evolved. So it has been a very holistic experience for me in terms of, from the IT governance and ISO 27001 to the, critical infrastructure related operational technology security element. We have all heard of colonial pipeline and ransomware attacks and those kind of things which are evolving, as Shilpa rightly pointed out. So the domain has also evolved, and I would say my journey along with the domain has also been progressively evolving during these last 17 years of my cybersecurity experience.
As you know, technologies are changing. From the time we were only using SOC, or let's say the advancement of security operations center, to today, we are using artificial intelligence for fraud analysis. We are using malware detection. We are using threat hunting in real time in so many advanced analytics technologies. So how do you see that? What are those core technologies, or what are those core skills in emerging opportunities for women who are entering into this community, and which particular space they can enter, like for example, infrastructure or network, pen testing? What are those small areas that women can enter and create a big mark for themselves? Let's start with Ms. Sawant. Over to you.
So I think there is no technology that women cannot learn. So I have seen girls, new pass outs, who are very good at ML. Okay. At the same time, I've seen people who are very good at or excellent at conducting penetration testing or red teaming, where it's a highly technical skill that you require. So I feel there is no such technology or an area where women can't work. It's more on the opportunity and their personal interest that they would like to do. But as they grow up their ladder or in their career, when they want to take up leadership role, that is where they need to rethink and try to get or learn or adopt some kind of skills which will help them perform better. But at a very initial stage or at the junior level, I feel they should take up anything that it comes. In fact, we have this job rotation. The HR usually imposes, that there should be some kind of a job rotation so that people learn different technologies. So this is what we should try to do, and that's when in the next few years we'll actually come to know what is that particular person good at, and then they can pursue that particular area. But initially, I feel any technical thing, they should accept it, and I'm sure they'll be good at it, because nowadays women are very hands-on. I've seen girls doing as good, if not better, as much as boys. The only thing, again, it comes, if they're married or they have responsibilities at home, girls feel that we are not able to give or depute so much time as much as the guys do. So that is the pressure that I think everybody goes through, whoever, all women go through in this industry. So, once, because they don't have as much of time the guys have. Yeah, so that's the only thing. Otherwise, in skill, women are equally good in thinking. They're equally good in handling technologies and core technical work. So according to me, I feel you give anything to them on the plate and they'll be happily able to do better or perform better in that role.
Coming to you, Ms. Neha, what are those emerging opportunities and those skill sets, or let's say some certifications that you see are trending in the cybersecurity space, which are ideal and valuable for women who are thinking about entering into cybersecurity or who are already working in the space and trying to scale up their career? So what are those key skills, certifications, or let's say some emerging opportunities that they should definitely tap on? Over to you.
See, I think I'll take it from, what Shilpa mentioned, so it's not about the certification, which is the most popular. It is about the subdomain which you are working on in the area of cybersecurity overall. So I think one is from that perspective, people need to be aware of the various, subdomains and verticals. If I were to broadly break it down, not going into too much of detail, one can take either the governance, risk, compliance side of thing, or the vulnerability assessment, penetration testing kind of thing, or maybe you want to get into that level of SOC SIM related operations aspect, or the cloud security part of it. So if you are already in the middle of security profession for some time, and for example now it's your interest, cloud picks your interest because of its wide scale adoption, so then in that case cloud security related certification would become pertinent for you. If you are already at advanced stage into vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, then maybe offensive security related certification may become pertinent to you. So the idea is that people should be aware of the various sub-disciplines and how they kind of lead to a particular path. So I know from the foundation element that CSAP, if you're doing an information security audit, always remains to be a particular choice, but that it cannot be a one size fits all. If you're into VAPT, CISA may not be pertinent for you. So I think it depends totally on the sub vertical which picks your interest and where you want your journey to evolve into. So I think you first need to resonate with a particular subdomain to take a certification, because certification is more like, it doesn't really needs to be like I need this certification so I do it. It has to somewhere be linked to the profile which you are currently handling or want to take up at as a next level. So I think that kind of, anyways, cloud is if I were to say in terms of the popularity, cloud still remains a popular choice, and offensive security still remains a popular choice from the VAPT perspective.
Definitely, and I mean, after the pandemic, the cloud adoption has gone to a different height. Not only in security, but in every other digital technology or project we see today. So, cloud is one of the emerging technologies and trends. That's wonderful to hear, ma'am. And that is the spirit of being in the cybersecurity domain. We face challenges, but we also develop innovative solutions. We also experiment with new age technologies to fight cyber threats such as ransomware, critical malware, viruses, and etc. But coming back to the theme of International Women's Day, today women hold about 17% of board positions in corporate in India, but only 11% leadership roles are held by women. Moreover, we have seen that marketing and HR functions are the critical areas that largely attract a large number of women. And when it comes to technical fields such as cybersecurity, infrastructure, network, we find that the percentage of women IT leaders come out very low. I would like to understand your perspective and what is the real-time situation. Like, according to you, why is there underrepresentation of women, especially in the leadership roles in the InfoSec and cybersecurity community? And what are those biggest hurdles and challenges that stop and discourage more and more women from getting into the leadership position and making their mark in the cybersecurity community? Over to you, Ms. Sawant.
To expect people to be, or women to be a cybersecurity leaders, I feel, that happens only when you are in that domain. So when the domain itself is emerging, what I feel is we should give a bit of time. That's when we will see more and more leaders. So that, if you see the number of women or girls who are entering into engineering or doing courses or MTechs in cybersecurity, I see a lot of increase in numbers in women. So if you see at this point in time, there were very few people who were into technical field. Hence, we don't really see a lot of women, reaching those level or those rank in cybersecurity. But I feel if we give out some time, maybe in next few years, I think it'll be a very game changing scenario where you will see a lot of cyber women taking up leadership roles, because there are already a lot of women. I mean, of course, things have really changed. Earlier we used to not find any women at all. I mean, I remember in my first job there were 30 boys and I was the only girl. This was a thing. But now within my organization, now it's 40% of women population that I have. And the kind of spirit that they have, the kind of willingness that they have, I feel nothing would stop them to reach any higher positions. So that I think women have this inherent capability, to do, they have this willpower, they have this willingness to achieve. But this has to be complemented by the organization also. Organization should actually welcome, even in their succession planning or at the board or even at the mid-management levels, they should be welcoming. It's like in this kind of society, I'm very glad it's changing now, but where people are very egoistic, very patriarchal kind of mindset, that needs to be changed, where they would not, even though women are capable, they would not enter them. They would not really give them great promotions or hikes to reach at that level, because they are very insecure. So I think the moment this changes, this, of course, this would happen with lot of effort from the board level, or a lot of initiatives from HR, where they say that there should be 50% of women within board, taking up leadership roles, or while hiring also, it should be like a diversity hiring that should happen. I mean, recently I had come across a role where they were actually hiring, it was the CISO role and it was a diversity role. And I was so happy hearing that. I was like, this is what we would actually want to see. Somebody hiring and only women can apply. This is something adds a lot of value, I think, to an organization. And this definitely shows the maturity of the entire organization, that, having women and women having these kind of capabilities. I'm sure cyber is the field where they can contribute more and more, because cyber needs not just technical skills. There are a lot of soft skills. They need to know stress management. They should be able to handle a lot of situations in difficult times. And I feel with this kind of inherent empathy and the balance that women get, I think they will there is no looking back for them once they're there, and I'm sure everybody would agree that. So I think hurdles, it's all about it's a joint effort. It's not just women needs to take more initiatives. It has to come from the organizations, and also that they welcome people. And this, I think, by seeing different companies where we see a lot of large companies having CISOs as women, I think this is a learning for people, that women can perform and they can take up these kind of technical roles other than marketing or somewhere where they feel they would be good at. I think it's all about a mindset that needs to be changed.
That is for sure, and I totally agree with you, ma'am. Very nicely put and very nicely packaged, that this is the reality, that we have to change our mindset. Moreover, the large corporations, the corporate has to put more money in running inclusion, gender diversity campaigns. Like you said, that companies today are specifically hiring women for a role of a CIO or CISO, which is a reality. And I have particularly heard it from many other community leaders. Coming to you, Ms. Neha, what is your opinion on this, and what is your organization doing towards running initiatives for gender diversity, for eliminating inherent biases? What kind of initiatives you are running, and what kind of challenges that you have seen in your career, or the women you are working with you? Over to you, ma'am. Yeah.
So, I'll add on to, Shilpa's point. As organizations embrace this change of, focusing on diversity, I mean, when I were to take my example, this goes beyond, hiring from the diversity perspective to making, we have customized programs even for women leadership across the group, not just my oil and gas division. So, there is, so for example, it's not only me as the female, women CISO at Vedanta. There is another lady who is leading Hindustan Zinc Limited. So what I'm trying to tell is that even organizations are focusing a lot on it in terms of having those specific leadership programs, because as you pointed out in the starting of this discussion, that we bring certain unique elements to the table. So those unique elements need to be enhanced through directing leadership programs for females. And common leadership programs will not give the same kind of context to leadership. And we all understand leadership is ever evolving. It's not a static position you reach as a leader and then you continue to be there. You also need to be evolving as a leader. It is a thing which you also pick up as you go along the way. So I think there is a lot of merit in having those specific customized design programs, and where you get an opportunity to kind of it becomes a shared learning from shared experiences for that particular group who's a part of these programs, which helps you evolve. And second point, about the traditional bias which is there, I think it is coming from a lot of STEM related bias also, which is associated with females trying to, whether they when they try to get into the technical roles, there is an inherent bias, which I think in due course of time, as Shilpa already pointed out, there's a lot of change we can see happening. And I think in due course of time, this will have a cascading effect, and we will see more women take up tech roles and, to move towards the leadership roles.
Exactly. And I totally agree with your point, because this is the time we have to change our mindset, and corporates are also moving towards the same direction. And yes, the change is going to be witnessed on a large scale in the mass in the next 2 to 4 years. Coming to your journey, so we all have faced challenges and ups and downs in our professional life. Besides, we do feel discouraged sometimes. Even to be honest with you, there was a time when I also wanted to quit, and these are the very common challenges that one face in a professional journey. Coming to you, ma'am, I would like to understand that what are the challenges that you have faced, and what great potential, what motivation you brought to create a mark for yourself in the cybersecurity industry, and getting on board, and now you are leading the cybersecurity at Vedanta Oil and Gas. So how it all happened, and what kind of challenges were there, and what initiatives you took, and what kind of fostering you went through to reach to this point? Over to you, ma'am.
I think, when it comes to challenges, highs and lows will happen with everybody during the course of their journey, irrespective of, with which organization they are associated with. Having said that, there are few traits which I think being more self-aware helps a lot. So if you are more self-aware about your inhibiting traits, certain traits, which then you can kind of work on those patterns to get over those traits. And having said that, I'll make it simple by saying that be vocal about if you need support in terms of whether adequate team members or adequate skill set or budgeting for certain security solutions, and be vocal about it, and do not have any inhibitions when you have to reach out to your mentors, cultivate mentors. It really helps you, evolve your thought processing to a direction sense, bouncing off those ideas, having those collaborative discussions, and definitely focus on network. Network is something which will, in years to come, it will help you to have a better journey along the way. So I think those are the few key things which I can say as a takeaway really help each of us. Right. All of us will have unique coping mechanisms, identify your coping mechanisms and what works for you. And I think when you said feeling the need to quit, that was one of the statements which you made. For me, fortunately, till now, I never ever had that thought of ever feeling to quit. And, I think the resilience comes from when you cultivate strong mentors and you have a strong, kind of, support system, which helps you to be that resilient, where you, never think of quitting.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful to hear. And when it's coming from a leader like you, I really appreciate it. And I take it as a learning from your experience. Coming to you, Ms. Sawant. So as Ms. Neha mentioned, being vocal, networking, and speaking to your mentor. So when it comes to your career, what challenges have you faced, and what initiatives you took? What has been the roller coaster ride from getting enrolled in the engineering field and now leading cybersecurity at Reliance Industries? What has been your experience? What are the challenges, and how you made that mark for yourself? Over to you.
For me, the main challenge was work-life balance.
Okay.
So initially, I've got 2 kids. So when I had the first kid, I was like, I'll not be able to manage this with this industry where we need to keep ourselves updated. And at the same time, it's not just a 9 to 6 job that you go and come and, your job is done when you're back home. It takes a lot of not just networking in terms of knowledge, upgrading ourselves, be updated on what's happening globally in this. It's very, very important. There was a point in my life where I felt I was doing great, but I felt that maybe I'll fail, or I will not be able to cope up with it. So that was one moment. So thanks to my mentor in my organization and my support system at home, because of that, there was one moment, and the next day I hit back. Then there was no looking back at all. In fact, when I had my second kid, I kept myself completely updated whenever I mean throughout my maternity leave, to make sure I don't lag behind, or I don't lose out on any opportunities. Not that people would actually say, but I myself, I didn't want anybody to feel that because she's gone on a maternity leave, she'll not be able to perform. Now maybe she's lost touch, or things like that, talking about me, because having achieved so much, and when you're capable, you can contribute more. So that is something that I felt was a huge challenge in terms of balancing, which is still there. I feel all women, it's implicit that we have to handle this. But I don't know, we have some kind of strength within us that we will be able to handle multiple things, like the way our mothers do. It's like the role that we have. She's a leader at home, where she handles a lot of situations. She grooms people, from handles day-to-day activities to keeps everybody together. And a great thing that we learned from them is, as Neha pointed out, resiliency. So these are the attributes that we have, and which actually makes us hit back and come stronger whenever we face any kind of challenge. So I feel with this kind of mindset, if everybody comes to this industry, that even people discourage, because people would discourage maybe because you're doing better.
Correct.
If this kind of perspective that you have, then I feel there's no looking back, and you'll not face any discourage. Nobody would discourage you within the society or your organization too.
And I totally believe that. And to the resiliency point, I would say multitasking, that is the top. I think that we all have seen it in our houses, and we have seen it with our parents also. And that is wonderful to learn. So coming to you, Ms. Neha, we have seen that women usually find it difficult to join back in the mainstream after taking a career break. And as Ms. Sawant also mentioned, that the situation, it needs some support, it needs that motivation, but it is wonderful experience as well. And even if they are hired back after the break, sometimes they are not given enough exposure or the opportunity. And especially considering the technology industry, the cybersecurity space, it is very dynamic, and the new technologies are constantly changing. And after a career break, such as maternity leave, it is perceived negatively by the management and board members, I'm sure. In such case, like, what is your thought and advice to women in the technology, in the cybersecurity space, to bounce back effectively, and what should they do to join back their position, that opportunity, that company with a very bang after a career break? What is your thought process on it now? Over to you.
So, as Shilpa pointed out, one of the traits, I think along with multitasking, patience is also a big trait. So, when you're trying to, and this is my view, when you're trying to resume back, and if you're not able to take it full time, take incremental steps. Take what works for you, define your boundaries between what can work for you, and then pursue it till the time you hit it. And having said that, with respect to the cybersecurity being an ever evolving field, like Shilpa mentioned, she kept on upgrading herself even during her break. So there is an inherent element which is associated with the awareness that I need to keep on upgrading myself. So I am sure with that level of commitment towards even during that break, I think one would be able to eventually, get back to where one wants to be. And then, having said that, when we say organizations are focusing a lot on diversity, inclusion, I think they are focusing a lot also on encouraging and setting up the ecosystem support which a person resuming after 6 months would require. So a lot of, you see organizations also trying to build that ecosystem and empathy towards helping that person to cope and be back on track. So I think it's a two-way thing. One, obviously only the women leaders or who are resuming it, at their level, they will do what it needs to, in terms of upgrading their skill set or knowledge or taking incremental steps. But at organization level, the organizations, if they set up that ecosystem and also, encourage that view, that give them that space to take their time, I think that should kind of, make it easier for them to resume. So I think that's my view on this.
Very rightly said, ma'am. And so coming to you, Miss Sawant, you have expressed that how important it is to understand the support, to get the support, and to understand when you are getting back to your career, to your job after a career break. So I would like to understand that how do you balance career, professional life, passions, and to be honest with you, just I would really like to understand that, is there such a thing like a balance, or is it just a myth? Over to you.
Rightly said. Complete balance is utopia. It's like we cannot.
Exactly.
So one thing that I started personally following was not to get into perfection, and learning to let go. It's like, if I'm not able to do this at home, or I'm not able to do a particular task, it's fine. If not today, I'll do it tomorrow. Okay. Similarly, we cannot afford to do that at work.
Right.
Maybe we can, the only thing we can do at work is prioritize. At the right time, do the things at the right time, where you feel that you have to stay back in office, or you'll have to give in more number of hours, you plan it accordingly. But there, in case of crisis, of course, that won't be applicable. But otherwise, I feel it's more of prioritization that we need to learn, rather than trying to balance everything completely. I mean, of course, there is, you cannot achieve everything, you cannot get everything at the same time, at one point in time. So if you're not able to give a lot of time at home, maybe take frequent breaks, where you can spend more time with family, or you pursue some passion that you've been wanting to do. Or that's where I think prioritization is the main thing that we all actually should follow, rather than trying to achieve. And the ultimate, it's a recipe for failure. If we try to do everything, and because 24 hours are not enough. I used to feel that initially, that 24 hours are not enough in a day to do this, with this kind of work. But then it's prioritization is what actually helped me out.
Okay. I totally agree. And sometimes 24 hours are not enough to complete your work, to live your life fullest, and also put some time and efforts for some activities and passions that you feel like. So, Ms. Sawant, coming to you, let's talk about some technical challenges, and not exactly technical challenges, but let's talk about the roadmap, the cycle of deploying a project, deploying a technology at Reliance Industries. So, what are those major challenges, or let's say, what are those pitfalls that you have observed and faced while choosing a technology to deploying it from pre-production to post-production and then finally taking to the ROI cycle and justifying those business benefits, what are those major challenges that you have faced, and how did you overcome those challenges, and what initiatives you and your team took to just drive those projects to a successful road? Over to you, Ms. Sawant.
So the challenge here, I would see it as not just post-production, it's actually pre. The main challenge comes when you've decided on a technology and you want to go for that technology and getting the right budget and justifying to your management that why is it required. I feel that is the biggest challenge. Post that deployment, of course, there will be ups and downs with IT teams. That can be handled. It's a part of the job. But main thing is to create a business case and help them understand that you need a new solution to handle these kind of attacks. Because the kind of perspective board or the management has that we've already invested in so many technologies in cyber. Why do you need another one now? It's just not like in IT there is, let's say, firewall. There has just been for example, there's firewall, and it is once you deploy that, maybe after 10 years only we've seen the next generation firewall coming up. But in cyber, every year, every 2 years, CISO has to change the strategy. We have to upgrade ourselves, upgrade the technologies, and see to it that we will be able to prevent or detect any kind of attack. So the kind of sophistication that we see in the attackers, so that requires different technologies at different layers. We call it defense in depth, actually, where we deploy multiple technologies to make people understand within your company that this is what is required, and we need some sort of investments, and then we will be able to show you some kind of ROI out of that. I feel that is the major challenge, because I have handled personally with our teams, internal teams, where they're like, there is already a solution, let's say for vulnerability management, for example. It already does this. Why do you need another one? So people do not understand that we have both. We have defensive, we have offensive technologies, mechanisms to combat with threats and vulnerabilities. So people have to think that, there is no one solution, which fits all. There has to be different solutions, and, how it will actually impact. If they ask us, that, okay, if the kind of questions actually I face, that what percentage of threats do you think this can, this can prevent? There is no answer for that in cybersecurity. We cannot really quantify the kind of threats. Now, threat in terms of severity, we can say, the advanced threats, yes, but you never know when it is going to hit your organization. But the only point is we are just getting prepared. So when it hits us, we have something to protect, at least at the door, and then we will see how to take it forward. If it can get through or not get through is a different part that we need to manage. But getting till there, I feel it's one of the biggest challenge that any cybersecurity leader faces. Going back and justifying that this is what is required. So this requires people to understand cybersecurity also. You just go to the board and tell them you want these solutions, they would not understand. The moment they understand cybersecurity, they understand the dynamics of this particular domain, only then they will be giving you. So this is the challenge, which is not, which cannot be solved in a day or two. Neha had mentioned to actually, convince your management and take your posture to the next level with some technologies.
I totally agree with you, Ms. Sawant, that understanding the business problem and then selecting a right technology, taking the budget, and then moving to the pre-production to finally deploying the technology, it's definitely challenging. And I'm sure that you and your team has done wonders at Reliance. Coming to you, Ms. Neha, what are those key challenges that you and your team faced while maintaining DCP and securing your systems, your data access, as your employees were working from remote locations? Your operational plans were also being executed. The process was being executed from remote locations. I'm sure that must be very challenging. So what kind of technologies, or let's say what kind of planning and strategic execution you and your team did to manage your operational efficiency during the pandemic and securing everything securing your data walls, your systems, everything. What kind of challenges you faced and how did you manage them? It would be very valuable for our viewers and the audience to hear from you and your experience. Over to you, Ms. Neha.
When you talk about COVID, this is something, even if I share my perspective today, God forbid anything like this unprecedented occurs in the future, nobody will be prepared in terms of, and why I say this, when organizations first went remote, at that point in time, the continuity and operational impact was so important that, there were certain deviations in the types of logical excesses. There were certain deviations which were taken in terms of, bring your own device categories. And there was such a lot, sudden increase in the use of even, cloud adoption, or I would say in terms of use of collaborative technologies. And people had their own, kind of data protection related experiences when it came to extensive use of collaborative technologies, and so much of information being exchanged with the external world also. So I think that was wave one was more focused on getting the operations running, while, allowing certain exceptions with the risk of, if things would be open for a while in terms of, lax controls on certain areas. But I think with wave two, it evolved to, because there was a gap in between, where people resumed normal operations, like, pre-COVID days also. So for me, we have been working from our office locations for quite some time, in between for 3 to 4 days a week. So, pre-COVID, when the thought moved towards pre-COVID era, it became more like certain things were reinforced. There was more focus on what you want to do in terms of MAM, MDM, what do you want to do in more in terms of, cloud security assessments, or, I would say real-time cloud security posture assessment using certain tools, which give you a real-time view of your cloud threat. So I think wave two came with that time where there was evolvement of putting those, controls back together, which were kind of lax during the first, because nobody was actually prepared with the thought of going completely remote. I think this was the first time when, especially if you look at manufacturing organizations, people who are working at plant sites, if you look, and even, there were certain deviations not even taken for plant sites. So remote access at plant site for third-party vendors was a cognizant risk, which we would not entail. So, I would say it was a combination. Controls were relaxed at few places, but not indiscriminately, without applying thought to the, what implications it could have. So when I come to critical infrastructure, we are very particular about, OT plant level accesses, in terms of we do not allow any kind of deviations on that side without having a very detailed and a very thorough review on the plant side of things, because the impact over there can be in terms of availability as well as safety. It's not just confidentiality or data breach. So I think those were the unique challenges, I would say, with respect to the vertical I am in, that, kind of had a lot of thought had to be revisited during the pandemic in terms of, boundaries. No longer, network defense was sufficient enough. So that I would say was a major learning from the pandemic phase.
I'm sure there must be, it must be very challenging maintaining a network, and especially that you mentioned that BYOD, this initiative. It sounds very fascinating, but at the end of the day, from a cybersecurity and from technical side, it's quite challenging that you don't know your user is, running systems, critical business applications on local network, LAN, also using public Wi-Fi and other stuff. So I totally agree with you that the time was very challenging and it was very critical, especially for the cybersecurity leaders.
I'll just like to make it, one point with respect to the pandemic, even when it comes to user awareness, the kind of phishing theme change from,
right,
theme change to COVID. So the way it happened, I think the context even of our awareness programs also change in context of COVID. So I think that is where everybody is evolving, as the COVID related cybersecurity attack categories are evolving. Even the organizations are also evolving to deal with that in kind of reshaping their, technologies as well as their awareness programs.
Correct. I totally agree, because in our organization also, we also started running many campaigns and strengthened our initiatives to spread information about cybersecurity, and specifically for the email security. I totally agree with you, Ms. Neha, because as you mentioned, that BYOD concept, bring your own device is something unique for the Indian companies, and also giving away the critical access and to the employees who are using the business critical applications, data walls and systems from remote locations on shared Wi-Fi network, public network and LAN. It is quite challenging, and I'm sure that it has been very different experience for you and your team. And I believe Ms. Sawant also shares the same energy and same experience, as she also managed so many things around email security and other aspects of cyber security during the pandemic. Thank you very much for sharing such technical insights and such challenges that you and your team faced during the pandemic. And now we have absorbed hybrid work culture. So I believe these challenges are no more in your organization, and I'm sure you and your team are doing wonders around it. So now we have talked about the technology part. We have talked about how women leaders are entering into cybersecurity space, and what kind of new emerging opportunities are there for women entering in cybersecurity. Let's close the discussion. Let's wrap this discussion by one final comment from you both. What advice would you give to your 25-year-old self and to the next generation of women leaders in cybersecurity? Let's start with Ms. Sawant. What is your opinion, and what would be that advice that you will be giving to your 25-year-old self? Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, well, the main thing is I would encourage a lot of the girls in this country, at least, start to enroll into these courses or start off during their engineering itself. And a lot of initiatives have been taken up, like DSEI has taken up Cyber 6 courses, just for women, just for mentoring and training women, skilling them into cybersecurity. The thing is, it's the advice that I would like to give is, this is so challenging. This field is so dynamic that you cannot let it go. The moment you get an opportunity, you have to just jump on it and just take it. Automatically, things will follow. Any industry, of course, work-life balance, they will have to do. But this is a technology which is very interesting. In fact, I've not seen one person, I might be wrong, this is as per my perspective and how much I have interacted. There is no person who's shifted the field from cybersecurity to some other field. You would have seen a lot of shifts that are happening, but from cybersecurity to some other field, I have not seen at all. And people backing off also is not something that I have heard of. They would reach a certain level and then they want to take a break, is a different thing. But I feel with a lot of prioritization, which with a lot of willingness to learn new technologies, and which I feel all women have. So, it's like, and they can reach out to any one of us for mentorship. I'm sure, if there is somebody approaching us, to mentor them or give some kind of coaching, career coaching for them. We all are happy. I'm sure this industry is happy. And I've seen a lot of initiatives in the social media where they are asking all the fresh graduates or GETs, to reach out to people so that they can train them and give them a shape to their career and let them get into their cybersecurity. So this is what I feel. They should maintain a good network. They should be updated with all technologies and then choose a right path. Like Neha had mentioned, there are a lot of fields, within subdomains within cybersecurity. It's just about, what they choose and they excel in that. It's quite interesting. Every area I feel is very interesting. It's about their personal interest to choose once they get into that. But till then, I feel there are a lot of opportunities, a lot of institutes are coming up with cybersecurity courses, cybersecurity, MTech in cybersecurity. And in fact, some new technology institutes have engineering in cybersecurity within India. So I think this field is really coming up, and I would really encourage a lot of girls to take it up. And then we are there anyways to support.
That is wonderful. Ms. Taneja, coming to you, what advice would you give to your 25-year-old self and to the next generation of women leaders in cybersecurity?
So if you come to the advice which I would have given to myself, I think be more vocal. Be more what do I say, more self-aware of where you are yourself inhibiting your own growth. As I said, there are certain self-inhibiting patterns which all of us may have. So had I been more aware of them 10 years back than, 10, 15 years back than what I am now, so, that could have helped me evolve earlier than, it does help to be more cognizant of what is your inhibiting pattern. And having said that, interestingly, Shilpa brought about cyber siksha. So I also conducted a few sessions, and the kind of response and the engaging session it was, when the participants ask you a lot of inquisitive questions about the cybersecurity career path and all. The DSCI initiative is one such example. I think basically having more such initiatives and people who have reached that leadership stage, where I'm saying that when I say leadership is ever evolving, we also start working towards creating other leaders, along the way. So that's how I think one can help the overall community to kind of cohesively evolve. Because when you kind of collaborate and discuss in these forums with in bounce of ideas, as I said, a thought and a shared, a vision and emerges generally. And I see a lot of thoughts resonate when we kind of collaborate on these kind of forums. So I think that it will take time, but these steps in these direction would eventually, get us there.
Definitely, it will take time, but the change is here, and we are witnessing it in large corporates, in even SMEs. They are focusing on inclusion, gender diversity. It's so amazing to see that how India Incorporative is moving towards achieving a mark where there will be no inherent biases, there will be gender diversity. I'm sure that time will be soon here. Until then, we'll see how best efforts we can put to mentor women entering into cybersecurity, giving them more opportunities. Thank you very much, Ms. Neha. I totally believe in what you both said, that it's all about changing the mindset. And I see that the world is changing. India Incorporative is putting great efforts, great money, and more investments toward focusing on gender diversity, removing inherent biases. And the time has come, and I'm sure that going forward in the next 2-3 years, we'll have more women CIOs and CISOs in India. Thank you very much, speakers, for giving us such valuable insights and sharing so many great experiences. I'm sure our audience and the community will find these insights very interesting and very useful for their life and for their professional capacity. Thank you very much for joining us in this panel discussion. I'm looking forward to hosting you again very soon. Thank you very much. Have a good day.